So I'm Kim. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my career journey. So I just wanted to start off by saying I've been where you are, and I've had to make the decisions that you're making right now, or you're going to make in the next couple of years of your academic career, specifically around subject choices. I wasn't lucky enough to have something like GirlsGetSET that would help me with some of that, but I was lucky because my dad's an engineer. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I grew up, but I knew, but I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was younger. But my dad said to me, do engineering because it's a great platform for whatever career that you want to do. He turned out to be right, which most engineers claim that they are 100% of the time. So I picked the right A levels and I went off to university. So I went to a university called Staffordshire University. I actually have 2 engineering degrees, but I don't practice as an engineer anymore. But I did for the first 5 years of my career, and I worked in what's called aircraft safety. So I worked on cockpit display systems for aircraft, and my passion or my fascination with aircraft safety born from my studies on the de Havilland Comet at university. So for those of you who don't know, the de Havilland Comet was the first British jet airliner. Well, it was the first jet airliner, right? So forget your America Boeings and your Airbus A380s that you see every day when you go on holiday. It was actually us, the British, that came up with the first jet airliner. The problem was we didn't know about a pretty significant thing called metal fatigue, and that, bore the end of our airliner journey, and is the reason that you will not see square windows on a plane whenever you go abroad. So you'll see the de Havilland Comet with the square windows on that photograph. You'll never see square windows on an airplane because of something called metal fatigue. So I decided I wanted to move out of engineering, and I wanted to travel the world, and so I wanted to do something different, so I moved into oil and gas. So next slide, please, Ros. So I took on various roles kind of centered around business improvement, and I got to travel the world. So I spent time with teams in Africa, and you'll see some of the pictures on there. I've been to Nigeria, Angola, Brazil, Mexico, Singapore, Australia. I've been all over the world working with our different products, and I loved it. During my time, during my travels, I spent loads of times in the US, and I really wanted one day to live over there. And my dream came a reality about 3 months ago when I moved over to Houston. So I'm in Houston right now, and it's 5:30 in the morning for me at the moment. So that's kind of the time difference. And this is really the global center for oil and gas for the globe. So I work over here, and I'm working within sales and commercial, and we're transforming our business to make it leaner, more efficient, more cost effective, and all that great stuff. I have a few passions in my life. My first is my career. I love getting to know different people, working with new people, having new challenges. No day is the same. I love it. My second is my family, and specifically my 3-year-old daughter, who yesterday told me she wanted to be Pikachu when she grew up. So I've got some more work to do there with her. And my third is spending time with people like you, trying to inspire you to break the stereotype that exists for us women, and to dare to do something different by picking a STEM career as your career of choice. That's everything from me. Margaret?
Thanks, Kim. So my name is Margaret. I am just going to share a little bit with you about me and my journey to where I am today. So I'm currently a software engineer at GE Aerospace. That's right at the bottom of that roadmap. But let's start at the top. That's a very good place to start. So I, in secondary school, I went to Denmark Road High School. It used to be called a different name when I was there. But I did my GCSEs and A-levels there. I studied A-levels and maths, further maths, chemistry, and physics. Everyone thought I was weird. I think I agreed with them too. That was a very tough choice, but great fun. After my A-levels, I joined GE Aviation, which was a local business to me. It was only 20 minutes away from home, where I did an engineering degree apprenticeship.
Oh my. I think someone's silenced Margaret as well as the. Yeah, carry on, Margaret, if you can.
Thank you. So as part of that apprenticeship, I chose to do that over university, over full-time university, but that didn't mean that I didn't get my degree. So as part of that apprenticeship, I studied part-time at UE in Bristol to get my bachelor's degree in electronics and computer engineering. So that was a 5-year apprenticeship. It was great fun, had lots of really great experiences, and once I graduated from that, that's where I became then a software engineer, which is the role that I'm currently in at the moment. So when I was younger, maybe like you, maybe unlike you, I had no idea what an engineer was. Much like these children, they drew pictures of engineers, and I'm pretty sure that's what I thought an engineer was when I was younger. You know, guys wearing hard hats, holding spanners, saws, wearing overalls. And so that wasn't particularly a career that I thought that I was interested in. And however, that let me assure you, is not what an engineer is. Working in GE now for 6.5 years, the people that I look around and see in my office look nothing like this at all. And what you might notice as well is on those pictures, a lot of those people are male, and a scheme like GirlsGetSET is really great because it hopefully shows you that that is not what an engineer is. It doesn't have to be a guy holding a saw, but it can be anybody that loves problem solving, and that's who I am and who all the people I work with is. And so, as Roz mentioned earlier, I took part in the GirlsGetSET scheme when I was in school. So if you flick to the next slide, you'll see me when I was in year 10 taking part in the GirlsGetSET program. So on the left is a Dragon's Den presentation that I made with a couple of other students in my school. We were making a rain catcher, so we designed a elephant doing a handstand that had an open top so that the rain could be caught, and its trunk was the tap. You can get all the water from it. It was absolutely fabulous. And then on the right shows all the students from my school attending the annual Girls' Day that we had then, and those were just the students from my school, so there were about 15 different schools that attended that day, so hundreds of students that came onto the GE site, all of who were interested in STEM, in science, in maths, all coming together for a great fun day, which you guys will experience later on in the year as well. So that's me, my journey, my experience with GirlsGetSET. And I'm delighted that all of you are taking part in the program because I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm sure you guys will too.
Thank you both so much. So I think we'll go back into Menti for some questions, and you can also put them in the chat. But while those are coming through, I thought maybe I would ask a quick question to Kim. So one of the things I think is really interesting about Kim's career is she moved from aerospace into oil and gas. So completely different sector, Kim. And I wondered sort of why you decided to do that. Was it easy? Was it difficult? And what do you think sort of for you the benefits have been?
I think so. I mean, aviation is the stuff that I find interesting. I love planes, but being in aviation, it's a tricky industry to be in terms of, you know, control, regulation. It's obviously highly regulated. It's got to be safe. And I'm not saying oil and gas isn't, by the way, but it's a different type of regulation. And, you know, I wanted to go and travel. I wanted to see planes. I didn't want to just design them. I wanted to step on them. I wanted to fly. I wanted to see different areas of the world. And I just wanted to do something different. And I also wanted to accelerate up that career ladder as well. And oil and gas gave me that opportunity just because the role that I took was a more global role. So I knew I was going to get to travel. And I think it was 2016, I spent more time out of the UK than in it. I was traveling all over the world, and it was an experience that I'll never forget. So I think I knew I wasn't going to be an engineer for the whole of my career, and I knew I wasn't going to be in aviation for the whole of my career. I just wanted to do as many different things as I could while I didn't have family restrictions and things like that. So I had to stay in one place. So it was just more of exploring for me.
So we have a question probably for both of you. When did you decide you wanted to become an engineer?
Would you take that, Margaret, first?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it would have been after taking part in Girls Get Set. So before Girls Get
Yes.
Set, I I didn't even consider engineering. Didn't think it was what I wanted to do. But I turned up at a Girls Get Set event, walked onto site, saw so many different engineers that were doing really cool things and things that I wouldn't have thought would be engineering. So that was when I was about 15, 16 years old. So before that, no idea whatsoever.
And I think for me, I said when I was talking through, I don't think I ever knew what I wanted to be when I was younger. I was lucky that my dad kind of said, you know, an engineering degree is a great platform, and he was right, because when I kind of have, when you do engineering, you study engineering, you build that kind of inquisitive mindset because you challenge everything and everyone. They're all wrong and you're right. Like that's that mindset that's in there. And I think that stands you in good stead in business, because I now question financials versus, you know, technical design. So it's slightly different, but I still have that mindset. And also I have credibility when I walk in a room. And that's really important. Being a woman in a big corporate industry that we live and work in, right? Having that credibility when you walk in a room, when you say you have an engineering degree, it just adds a lot of credibility to you as a person. So I don't think I ever truly thought I want to be an engineer. I knew that it was a great pathway to a fun, exciting, and diverse career, which is what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to make a difference. I just didn't know what I wanted that in. Hopefully that makes sense.
Lots of great questions coming in. Why do you think there are not a lot of women in engineering?
So I'm gonna nab this one because it's my it's definitely something that we talk about a lot. So I think for me, stereotypes and unconscious bias is a big problem that we live with. There is a assumption that women don't pick technical careers, or they don't even have careers. That assumption exists, unfortunately, across not just older generations now, but also younger generations. And it's not from a negative place. It's because of this thing called unconscious bias. So when you're younger, you know, typically and unfortunately, your dad goes out to work, or your dad goes and does a technical job, and your mum might stay at home, or your mum might do something different. So that stereotype is reinforced at a young age. That's changing as time goes on, which is important. But that's kind of an overhang from years gone by, and that builds those stereotypes in your head. Like, I give you the example, and I always use this. My nephew, who was like 4 or 5 at the time, he started playing with a Peppa Pig toy, and I told him to put it down because it was too girly. I was like, what the hell am I doing? And then I realized what I'd said, and everything is just reinforcing stereotypes, like things like pink Lego, Peppa Pig, like it's associated that they are girls' toys, and the boys' toys are the planes and the trains. And I want us to squash all of that, right? There is no gender when it comes to toys, and there is no, well, hopefully there won't be stereotypes. There will be, but you know what I mean? That's what we've got to try and break, that association with certain things based on a gender. That's what I think is a key contributor to why more women aren't picking STEM.
Shall we take one more question, Marilee? So I know there are lots coming through, and what we'll try and do is we'll answer them between now and the next session and share the answers with your teachers, or maybe start to answer them at the beginning of next time we meet.
Okay, last question. What advice would you want to give to a young person who wants to be an engineer?
Margaret?
Yeah, of course. So I would say that if you want to be an engineer and you have the passion and enthusiasm for it, then just go out there and try different things, because in engineering, there are lots of different types of engineering that you can do. You can do electronic, mechanical, civil, there's a lot of stuff. But what underlies most engineering is the problem solving part of it. Engineers like to solve problems. So I would say, go out there, buy yourself like an Arduino kit or a Raspberry Pi or whatever it is that you want. Try tinkering with it at home, because that puts you in really good stead for the future. You'll have and build skills, transferable skills that you'd need in your job. And you'll find that doing stuff at home and playing with stuff and having hobbies and putting that on your CV will put you way ahead of other students that don't do that.
Thank you, Margaret. I could listen to you and Kim all day. Really great answers to the questions. Really great questions as well. And as I said, we'll get back to you on the answers.